I want to share my experience with the LUMECUBE Panel Mini that I've been using for about a month now. Hi, I'm Jim Setzer with Images by Design, and well, full disclosure, LUMECUBE did send me this evaluation copy so I could try it out and share my thoughts with you guys. That's what I'm doing here today. LUMECUBE did not pay me for this endorsement other than giving me a free sample, and they did not put any conditions on that. I don't work that way. So you're going to get my honest opinions about this product, good and bad, and even my recommendations for who this is for. So let's get started. I'm not going to go down the entire spec sheet for this product. I did that in the preview video where I talked about all those features and even compared it to its big brother, the LUMECUBE Panel Go. I'll put a link to that video in the show notes down below. Now, I have been using this panel for about a month now, like I mentioned, and I've taken it with me on location for real estate features. I've done on-location product photography. I've done in-studio product shots with it. I have used it for teleconferencing, like we're all doing these days, too many Zoom meetings. So pretty close to every day I've been using this guy. Now, if you're a subscriber to this channel, you will have heard me say countless times, there's no such thing as a perfect product, and this is no exception, although I did really struggle a little bit to come up with a number of things that I wanted to point out that I didn't think were perfect designs with this product. All right, the first nitpick has to do with this little shoe mount that came in the kit. It's not very well made. The one that comes with the LUMECUBE is actually much better quality. Second of all, it's too low profile. If you just have the panel attached to your camera with just this, it sits too low. Unless you're shooting with a very thin pancake lens, you're going to get shadows from the barrel or the lens hood, and so this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You might be better off going with a small ball mount type attachment. It gives you some flexibility, raises it up a little bit more. LUMECUBE actually sells ones that are very similar to this on their website. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. The second little nitpick I've got with this thing has to do with the power button, and maybe it's just my copy, but the power button itself, it's metal on metal, so it rattles a little bit. Maybe, can you hear that? So if your use case is you've got this shoe mounted to your camera and you're walking around and you're trying to pick up audio from the mic built into your camera, you're going to get this in your audio. Again, it's a nitpick. Most of us won't care about that. The third nitpick is that unlike other LUMECUBE products, this is not Bluetooth, so I cannot control it with the LUMEX app. LUMEX app for me comes in handy for product photography where I want very, very fine control over light output, or I'm trying to do a special effect like a strobe or whatever, or I'm just trying to figure out what the power levels of the LUMECUBEs are, the battery levels of the LUMECUBEs are, because they don't have an indicator on them to help me with that. But these panels they serve a different purpose, so maybe that's not a deal breaker for you either. The last thing I want to point out is this diffuser. There's things I like and don't like about it. The things I don't like about it are, first, it makes the panel almost twice as thick. It takes this beautiful thin form factor and makes it a little bit chunky, and that's because it's trying to make this dome effect on the top, I think. The second thing I don't like this diffuser for is, in most circumstances, this front face, for lack of a better word, is a little too thick, so it does absorb quite a lot of light. It really kills a lot of the effective light of this thing for many situations. So let's go and move on to the things I like about the panel, starting with this diffuser, since I already have it in my hand. I like the fact that it has openings for both the bottom and side 1/4-20 threaded mounts on the panel, as well as the controls on the side, so nothing is covered up when you have this thing in place. I do like when you do need a lot of diffusion, like when the panel is close to somebody's face. I'm using it on a Zoom call, or I'm doing a video interview. These LEDs are really harsh by themselves, even with this built-on diffuser. Adding this helps that out incredibly, and it provides a very nice shadow fall off. Makes for much better natural light than, say, these big LED panels that I'm recording with right now. Last thing I like about this is that it does, because it is silicone, it does add a little shock protection and maybe guard against scratches on the body of this thing. Now, speaking of the body of this thing, it is made out of machined anodized aluminum. It is really, really nice and rugged. It feels really well made. That being said, it's 85 grams, so it's not tremendously heavy. It's almost 20 grams lighter than the LUMECUBE. It's 550 lux at half meter, so it's not the brightest in the world, but for its weight and its size, it's actually pretty bright. So I do like that quite a bit. In fact, if you want to compare, size to brightness, here's a traditional panel about 3 times heavier than this, and this only provides maybe 5 to 10% more brightness than this little panel. So, that tells you where the technology is going, right? Moving around to the back, this LCD display panel on the back is really nice. Not only is it giving you the battery power remaining, it's showing you the output brightness strength, and it's showing you the current color temperature. It's got one other neat feature, and that is it displays for you, based on the current battery charge level and the current power output level, what the time remaining is before this thing finally dies. That makes it really, really helpful. Moving around to the side, the controls are very nicely laid out. Rattling power button aside, that power button does double as a mode switch to switch between power output and color temperature, and very intuitive. And then they've got, instead of buttons to go up and down based on whatever mode it's in, it's got this little jog rocker, which makes it nice and fluid, so I can actually use this in a handheld panning shot and adjust either the power or the color temperature through the shot. And I couldn't do that with buttons because I'd be banging like this and I would introduce camera shake, and that's just no good. As a modern device, of course, it has to have USB Type-C as its charging port. That allows for great compatibility with most of your modern stuff, as well as quick charging depending on how much current you have in your power source. And finally, I wanted to point out something I really appreciate about this panel. Most of the other bicolor panels that I have out there, they get very hot. Their power brightness changes depending on what color temperature. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here at 5600 Kelvin, you see the power brightness, and watch the brightness go up as I get to about mid temperature, and then the brightness go back down again as I get down to 3200 Kelvin. That's not the case with the LUMECUBE panel. When I start here at 3200 Kelvin and I roll up, look at how nice and consistent the power output is all the way up to 5600 Kelvin. So let's wrap things up. Who's this panel for? Or let's start out with who this panel is not for. If you're a videographer, you shoot mostly outdoors, 550 lux at a half meter is not going to be able to overpower the sun for you. You might need something a little bit brighter like a LUMECUBE or the Lume Panel Go might be the better solution for you. If you're a traveling photographer, videographer, and so every item and every gram in your bag is precious, the LUMECUBE Panel Go doubles as a power bank, so you might be able to cut one more thing out of your bag and a couple of grams at the same time. So who is this for then? It's for anybody whose primary use is going to be for those teleconferencing, those Zoom calls that we're doing seems like every day. This thing is the best light I've got for that, hands down. Second, if you're a vlogger, whether you're going to camera mount this to a mirrorless or DSLR or even a smartphone with this side mount to give you a portrait orientation, this is a great vlogger's light source. And if you shoot your camera on a gimbal, the really nice power to brightness level on this thing, it's very lightweight. 85 grams makes it very simple for me to balance this on my Ronins and other gimbals. And then finally, if you're an event videographer, that feature I told you about where it's showing you the time remaining constantly, that really helps me with the confidence I need to be able to shoot this during those once-in-a-lifetime moments, the cake cutting, the first dance, you name it. If you found anything in this video interesting or helpful, please do hit the like button down below. If you want to see more videos in the future from Images by Design, please subscribe and hit the notify bell down below. If this has helped you make up your mind on this particular light or maybe the other ones I mentioned here today, please use the affiliate links down in the down in the show notes down below. That throws a few pennies my way to help pay and keep these videos coming and doesn't cost you a dime. Again, for Images by Design, I'm Jim Setzer. Have a fantastic day.